Hello and welcome back to Farfill Unplugged. I think today is going to be a little bit more of an interesting topic. We've spoke about a little bit about e-commerce, and I think now we're going to dive into like startups and actually building a startup, the startups we've been involved with, the ups and the downs. I think for me, I've had a completely different approach because just coming from Ireland, from Europe, I think. Go to school, go to college, get a job. Don't really start your own business until I came to Dubai and I've seen it firsthand. You've obviously had a very different approach to things.
Yeah.
Like growing up, you kind of grew up when JadoPado started. You came back from London, yeah?
Yeah, came back from university.
JadoPado was kicking off.
Yeah, it was kicking off. It was very early days. It was.
But what did it look like? I can't explain it because I didn't understand it.
Yeah, so it started off basically we were doing our own deliveries, our own warehousing. So we had same day deliveries. We had
for 2010 must have been 2010, yeah.
Yeah. So we had same day deliveries. Just selling consumer electronics.
Yeah.
To people on same day. Obviously, consumer electronics, super thin margins, not a great product.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got old stock, you're buying it. Let's say you're buying an iPad that just comes out, you're buying it in bulk.
Were you doing like which model were you doing, like buying and selling or marketplace?
Buying and selling, and
so that margin is like you've got to do it in seconds, pretty much. Yeah.
Especially the consumer electronics because. Obviously, at that time, everyone was innovating a lot, and now still people are just bringing out models every single year. So the cost, the value of the product just diminishes in like the first few months.
Yeah. Well, I think I've seen that firsthand with like Noon when we were working with Noon. The new iPhone would drop, and if it doesn't sell within like 18 hours, 20 hours, like until the next one can be like brought back in, they've lost a percentage that they should have gained off it. Especially if they buy 1 million off it.
Yeah, that's basically that's it in steroids, right? So I remember once we bought the iPhone 5C. That was the first time they brought the colors ones out. But in this market, we didn't know. In this market, everyone just wants the best iPhone, not like a cheaper version of the iPhone. So it didn't do well at all. And we had a lot of stock for a while for that iPhone 5C.
Did you have an iPhone 5.7, 5C? For a while.
Basically, yeah.
So I think, like looking at that from absolutely nothing, I don't think I could comprehend that when I was back home in Ireland and setting up a business, because I think you just see really big businesses in Europe that are probably established and you don't see the startup environment. I think my introduction to it was actually I worked with Paralympic sport in Ireland, and I seen the way they were doing like B2B deals at the time, and they were doing partnerships and how these big companies were paying big money to organizations like that, and that was the first time we were talking like millions and this, and they're going to give, and that was my first probably intro to it, before coming here and then joining with JadoPado, which wasn't a startup at that point, although it was. The environment was
at that point when you joined. It was startup environment. We just raised first round or only round at that point, and I think when you joined, we were just growing. I think
that was the acceleration kind of
we joined in the sales team, trying to bring on sellers, etc. I think it was an interesting time. At that point, we'd switched from direct to consumer to a marketplace model. So the product had evolved into a marketplace, and then like a few years later, we obviously exited to Noon. Yeah.
Why is it exited? Why not sold your business?
Exited, whatever you want to call it.
But that's the e-commerce dream. That's the e-commerce dream. And obviously, how much was it?
I can't talk about it.
Undisclosed fee, but obviously then you came and worked as well with Noon for a little bit. With kind of I think it was a day, 3 days.
I don't want to talk about
it. But we worked with Noon at the very start, and that was a completely different startup. Like that was a startup with $1 billion.
Yeah, that was a completely different environment for me. And everyone that moved from here to there next door, it was literally it was like a shell shock of like a culture change.
I think it's a corporate environment that obviously was from Emar's side, which
Yeah.
isn't a bad thing. It's
No,
just
no,
we
no,
don't
we
didn't have a clue.
Yeah. It just took some time for a lot of people to get adjusted to that.
Yeah.
And then obviously after that.
But I think still that like idea of like a company that had that much funding and that much backing was an exciting thing, but it wasn't a startup kind of environment. I think
I think what they aimed it to be, they wanted it to be a startup environment, but it's very difficult to get that sort of environment from there, especially if you're hiring people from all over the world, like from like Facebook and Amazon and all that kind of stuff, and bringing them here. And there's going to be a lot of clash, like culture clash. So so I think so what I used to do at the time was, your office was here and Noon's office was there. Yeah.
And we used to come here and have extended lunches sometimes, which I probably shouldn't say out loud, but we did.
At that point, we started Isandro, my brother and myself, and then we were
dabbling with just different ideas and businesses, and me and Aamir had got into fitness business, and I think we laughed when we just even thought about it at the start. Well, the idea was to bring tech into fitness, and to build around that. That was the landscape. And Sudafit, that business, and like it was interesting because it made, like, we're building it as I was working with Noon, which I probably shouldn't say, but it's out there now. We're building it, and the last day I was supposed to be in Noon working, which was the day that Noon launched, we had set up Sudafit, and on the very first day, I think we made like $20,000, 80,000 dirhams, something like that in the first day.
So basically, because it was an early on business, we needed to figure out a revenue stream because we couldn't just like fund it or whatever it was. We wanted it. We wanted revenue from the get go. So we went to schools. And
I had seen that model being built, and it was weird. So I don't think until now, working in another startup, I've realized how them little small accumulations of money coming in build up into something. So obviously that was a huge amount of money made in the first day. I was actually at a school getting the sign up thing done, and I was supposed to be at Noon receiving my cake for my last day of work, which was an interesting one. But then we set up Sudafit. I think what happened was we learned a lot from a startup from that. Days were up, down, which is what I think the success sometimes, when you look at it from us back home anyway, if you weren't making money, it wasn't successful. But the actual outreach and the things we were doing and trialing, we just
you know what, we made money, but it was boring.
I did want it. It wasn't horrible, but it was a lot of early morning, late nights, putting in a lot of work, boring work. But like out of that, you can't say like other startups then evolved.
No.
You know what I mean? Like we found problems like payment gateways, like personal trainers didn't be able to pay payments.
Yeah, so we basically, payments, it was something so important for this market. For this business, we needed card payments, and we reached out to local payment providers, and they took weeks to get back. In that time, I'd reached out to Stripe in the States, set up an Atlas account, and by the time like one of the payment providers came back to us over here, that the account was already set up, a business was set up in the States with banking, and we'd already started taking payments by card.
And look, that's a crazy learning curve for how to adapt to something and bring it to the region. And now all of a sudden these things are coming here in the region, and it looks so basic. If I was to do this back home, I would be able to use PayPal. I would be able to use like any other payment provider because it's regulated. And again, learning it from the back end way of doing it is kind of giving us a little bit more experience moving on. So obviously that brought out another startup business, and then I think we both went off in tangents and careers and stuff like that. And I think you sat there with boxes at the very first day of Farfill.
So I spent 2 years basically
You did
trying
just sell a
different things.
business, trying to find yourself again, your feet and what?
Yeah, it was. I should have just chilled out.
Should have been a fun few years.
But
really.
I didn't. So I spent 2 years trying to figure out what to do, and then Farfill came up. I think it was from when we were consulting for someone, and yeah. Anyway, so I built a landing page, put some Google ads.
But I don't like. I need like. I want for people like my friends, family, stuff that are looking back home about like that idea of something so small. And even when we were discussing,
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't actually believe in what I was doing at that point. Confidence in myself in like a business way was gone. So when I built this landing page and like leads were coming in, I was still, and we had a warehouse. What I did was, the reason how I found my rent for my apartment was I had to leave my apartment. So because my landlord promised me that they'd reduce the rent and they didn't, so I left. I'm leaving. So I packed up all my stuff. Then I found out that we had a warehouse with for short-term storage. I dropped off my furniture there. And I realized that, hang on a minute, there's a warehouse here. So we basically I decided to just clear that warehouse out of all this like food stuff or whatever it was, and put up some racking, build this landing page. And January 15th, I said to myself, January 15th is the day that Farfill's going to launch. And it launched. January 15th, we had our first customer, Exhale. Was our first customer, and literally it was just like a racking and just some boxes there, and it was just me in the warehouse just like, what do I do?
Oh, man, I remember discussing it with you at the time, and we just being like, how, like, I thought build your own products and sell it, because if you look at the model of other fulfillment centers, usually you own your own product and you sell them, and then people jump on your operation.
Yeah, I did.
And that was the earlier discussions.
I tried that while I was doing Farfill, trying to grow the revenue.
Yeah, Amazon and Noon. I remember you had products.
So I would literally go to the cash and carry next door. I would list their products on Noon, and whenever something sold, I would go to the cash and carry next door, buy all that stuff, go and deliver it to
That's
Noon.
Reselling as like much as they can do it.
Yeah, so that was in the summer of 2019. I did that, and then I realized that the fulfillment side I was losing focus on the fulfillment.
Yeah.
So that's when we started I started believing in myself more at that point. And obviously you came on board, we started hiring more people. You drove the growth by bringing on some pretty sweet clients.
But that's the and this is the interesting thing about. I want to go back to that. It's just like there's literally a box inside the warehouse. I think like we need to show some like photos through it of like there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And people don't, and seeing the vision when people just don't understand there's nothing there.
Yeah.
I remember walking in some days. There's the day that we had a rugby ball and we're kicking it over and back inside the warehouse, because the warehouse is like 3 stories high pretty much. And we're kicking over back a warehouse. It's like, how is this ever going to be full? And now we're just clear. We don't even have room. We just got a new warehouse now, pretty much like some space. And we're in the middle of looking at like pretty much purchasing other warehouses and like how to go from that to that. But how crap were some of the days?
Oh, horrible.
Like, I mean, the first day I remember you got 80 orders. Remember one day with that client, and we're sitting there doing it on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's so not attractive at all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like there was no, it was just like this is
Dude,
just,
some days I used to go in, because it was like 5-6 months of just I used to work at the office, and then I'd see like an order come in, and I would go to the warehouse, pack it, drop it off at FedEx, and that was it. That was the day.
There was no like vision of it, and like now we're looking at it, and it's so like it's been accelerated. There's just orders going. So you need to have a person in each post.
Yeah. It's
like,
mad to think. Yeah.
It's mad.
In like just over a year, so we gave 3 months of free services, basically pick, pack, everything was free for 3 months, because I was like, how else am I going to get business?
And make the proof of like how to work the system.
I had no idea. I had zero idea, because obviously I'd done warehousing before at JadoPado, but that was years ago, and obviously the marketplace, I was more involved in like the operations side, but I'd forgotten how to run a warehouse. I'm not gonna lie, I'd forgot.
But what we like, it's weird because you just say like it's running a warehouse, and clients can come in and say it's just running a warehouse, you're picking and packing. But the variables within the tech is insane. That we've got like maybe 40 something clients, and you're looking at every one that order that comes on their website has to hit our API, which hits our API, hits our warehouse management system, which also has to connect to our service providers, DHL, FedEx, Armex.
And what's so different, like fulfillment centers, is I can see why now some fulfillment centers focus on certain categories, because it makes sense for storage, etc. And we've got such a variety of categories, and I think when expanding to like a new warehouse, we have to, prior to like, let's say, building out that warehouse, we have to think, okay, what categories can we actually? It was basically like a free for all, and it still is in like the old like current warehouse. We've got like diapers to like furniture and like a lot of apparel. Like apparel's like our key
huge thing.
But
like I think that, like even now, what we're in the middle of doing is building case studies and finding out so much more information about like us selling to Europe, to the US, to Australia, and whatnot, and we're actually cheaper in some places. And, like, we're finding out these things from the shed, pretty much. You know what I mean? It's a small warehouse. Like the shed, like it's a tin roof shed, and it's now become a profitable thing in a space of a year, right? And not just like,
it's growing.
It's a proper business, and we are supporting businesses that are also startups. And we're following their journey. Like their journey is our journey now. And some of the stories we hear of clients is just insane. Just how they found that is the interesting thing. How they found that, how to start from zero to nothing as a client.
Like, you know, one of the early clients at Farfill, it's just really interesting because they basically sell watch straps for Rolexes and Tudors, and this particular person's basically got a manufacturer in China. I mean, he's never visited China, but he used to send the actual watch to multiple factories until he found like the perfect one, and like the straps.
That's trusting someone with a watch, but that's the e-commerce, isn't it?
Yeah. Like the straps are incredible. Like rubber straps for Rolex and Tudor is amazing, and it's crazy like how you can do that today. So you send them the product. Obviously, it was a lot of trial and error. He tried a lot of manufacturers before he got what he wanted. But in the end, he got there, and it's just doing great. And like basically shipping from here to like all over the world.
His orders are scarce because again, it's a small niche market. Not everyone's wearing a Rolex. But they want that rubber strap that is so small.
Because they don't come with rubber strap. I don't think they do.
No, they don't. And you can't buy them either. Like so, his ones, and even to get them made, you can't just get them made.
And they've got like, I think I don't know much about watches. It's actually got the whole thing.
The ridge for it.
It's not like just like a clip on or whatever it is. It's actually got the whole bit. I don't know. I don't know much.
And I think that's just like finding the solution to a product problem, fixing it. Like another client that we have that like digital marketing, amazing at it. They take pretty much stock pictures from Google. The picture is a house with some lights, this, that, and the other. They pretend that they own them products. Like I find that amazing. And they take literally a stock photo that they took off the internet. They sell the product on their website and give it like a 1522. They make the product then for the customer, and they do it in like the hundreds of that product, and have customers. They might have some surplus ones and just resell it and push it. So like there's opportunity, I think, absolutely everywhere for like new businesses, niche businesses, and I think that's what we're going to end up seeing in the next while. And we hope they come to Farfill.
Definitely. Definitely.
I think we'll round it up for this week's episode, and I think that was an interesting intro, and I hope it gave a little bit more scope of us, Farfill, the businesses that we deal with. And
I'm sure there's a lot more that we can dive into.
Sure.
Cheers, everyone.
Tune in next week.
Tune in next week.
You better be cutting all that bit, mate.
Cheers.